right, we are now recording. This is Rewind Time, your favorite music-themed, not-so-music-themed podcast from Niles High School. I am Bo. I am joined by...
Destiny.
And we have a very special guest today. Please introduce yourself.
I'm Mrs. Maiers, former teacher of Niles Community Schools.
All right. So you have been retired for quite a while. So how long did you work for Niles?
37 years.
37 years. Wow.
Yes.
So you were a kindergarten teacher, correct?
I was kindergarten, I was first, I taught second, I taught fifth and sixth, I taught a math lab and Head Start.
All right.
Could you give us some silly stories about you as a kindergarten teacher?
Well, the one that I remember the most is a first grade story, actually, and it was a little boy that came in from lunch recess, and he was going over to get his backpack, and I said, "Honey, where are you going?" He put his hands on his hip, and he said, "Who the heck signed me up for this program?" He did not want to stay.
That's nice. All right. So what was your favorite grade to teach? Because you just said that you were teach quite a few different grades.
Well, I really loved them all, but first grade really was my final years of teaching, 25 years in first grade, and it was really fun because the students are at a fun age. They enjoy coming to school.
All right.
And you teach reading, so that's a fun thing.
All right. Do you have any... Mr. Cornelius also told us about your daughter, who is a teacher over in Dowagiac. Could you tell us a bit about how, the conversation about how being a teacher works and, how it is having a daughter that's a teacher?
Okay, well, she started helping out in the classroom in high school. And, of course, I was a teacher, so that was just a natural thing for her to do when she graduated. She actually is teaching up at Dowagiac second grade. I've taught second grade before, so I relate to what she tells me each day, which can be fun or not so fun, depending on what the barometric pressure is. And I enjoy talking to her about that.
All right.
Could you tell us a little bit about Niles Education Foundation and what you do for the schools?
Yes, the foundation was started in 2009, and it's an organization that funds projects and grants for teachers of Niles Community Schools. So since 2009, we have donated probably over $250,000. The first project that we did was the Cyber Cafe here at the high school. So that was really an exciting project to do.
That is really nice. Could you tell us a bit how it got started?
You know, I wasn't there at the beginning, but I can tell you that probably a group of people got together and they had some money and they had good sponsors back then. And they said, "What can we do for the schools? How can we help you?" Talking to the superintendent, and that's how it all began.
Do the Niles Education Foundation have any plans for the future?
Well, we're constantly looking for projects and grants that the teachers apply for. They ask for money for a project or a grant. A grant is $1,000 or less, and a project is more than $1,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And the projects can be anything. It doesn't have to be academic related, while as the grants have to be related to academics. And it has to be something new and fresh and something that would excite you as learners.
All right. That is really nice. This podcast has been really short, and I think that we'd like to, keep it going. So for now, do you think that we could hear some more stories from your time as a teacher?
Sure. I had another little boy that was in the classroom, and you remember from first grade that when you lined up, you had to line up for lunch a certain way. And so I said, all the hot lunchers line up, and then all the cold lunchers line up. Well, he said, "What about me? What about me? I'm warm. I just brought a sandwich."
Well, that's a cold lunch, obviously.
That is a funny one. And then another one that was not related to me, but I think is pretty hysterical, is a teacher that was teaching English, and she was really getting into the lesson, using her arms, and the kids were really paying close attention. She thought she must be delivering the best lesson ever. And this little girl kept raising her hand, and she was just ignoring her because she thought, "I'm not going to interrupt my lesson." This little girl. So finally the little girl came up and tapped her on the blouse, and she said, "Mary, what is it? What do you want?" And she said, "Well, your blouse is open." So the whole time that she was teaching, she had all of the buttons on her blouse were totally open.
That's not good.
Yeah.
Any others that you'd like to share?
Well, I just think, especially teaching first grade, it's so exciting. They come in not knowing a lot and they leave. They're just like little roses. They're a little bud when they start out and then they just blossom. They become readers and writers and they can do a lot of math. They're just a fun grade to teach, a fun age group to teach.
And then could you tell us a bit more about, what the Niles Education Foundation has made for the schools?
Sure. I mentioned the Cyber Cafe. Some of the things at the high school, a project was the raincoats for the band, and we bought the choir robes for the choir. We also paid for a sound system on the stage and some microphones for a stage. Then some of the projects, or rather grants, another project that we did was system-wide, and that was handwriting without tears. So all the students in second grade would receive that. And then some of the other projects, they can be really little. Like somebody bought an ant farm, and then they had the kids observe and write about it. We also provided the choking vests for here at the high school. And we've done leveled books so that children that don't read at grade level would be able to read subject areas and relate to what the topic was about. We've also done, let me think for a minute. We've done so many things, lots of books. And really, though, we don't do things twice. So when I say books, one might be a leveled library. Another thing was in middle school, we did books that were relatable to boys. They were all sports books and topics that they thought the boys, not that girls wouldn't like them, but, they were trying to capture the boys' attentions. And we've done lots of things with iPads and things, but now that we've done that, we don't do any more. And some of the other things that we don't do, we don't pay for field trips or shirts for a club. We don't pay for clubs, actually. We did something for the graphics club at Ringlardner, which was an exception to the rule because that was leading into the class here at the high school. Yeah.
All right. That is very nice, and I'm very glad that the Niles Education Foundation has been able to do all this stuff for the district.
Well, that's why I got involved in it, because I taught for so many years, and I knew as a teacher how much materials were needed, and we don't get paid enough to buy all the materials that we need, especially things that are above and beyond. So it was worthwhile to me to become part of the group and part of the process of reviewing the projects and grants that the teachers turn in.
All right. I actually have been thinking about after college, I want to actually become a teacher. I was thinking about becoming either a high school or middle school teacher. Do you have any advice, maybe? How should I approach the job?
Well, I think the biggest thing is classroom management. You just have to learn to be relatable to kids. And I'm sure that Mr. Cornelius is a good example for you to follow, because I knew what a student he was. So I can only imagine what he would be like as a teacher. So just developing relationships with them. Be at the door and greeting the kids as they come in so that they feel connected to you. And show that you are interested. Be very interactive with them. I think that's important.
All right. So at the start of this podcast, I did mention that this is more of like a music-themed podcast. This was started because of my love for music and Destiny's love for music. So before we end this podcast, I just want to end it on a quick little fun question on what your favorite type of music is.
Well, the genre that I like most is soul music, 60s soul. So that would be the one that I would, be drawn to. However, I listen to all genres of music. I mean, and even the pop music of today, because I have 2 grandchildren. So when we're in the car, we all listen to the latest radio stations.
That's nice. All right. Yeah. We are at 9 minutes. All right. I think this is pretty good to end. Thank you very much for watching Rewind Time. And we are out.